lady，
对 Chinese lady。
mom， 那个女士怎么说 ？mom。
Ladies and gentlemen, madam.
I'm reading the stocks.
干嘛呀？
What's this?
什么东西啊？
直播。Are we on YouTube or something?
我把这收了，收了之后那个什么，咱吃甜点。你做，你我刚。
威廉，把游戏关了。
那你不要肯定玩呢？
啊？
在楼上玩呢。这个你也别客气，咱就哎呀，你这刚出来跟他们说话，还是。
哦，丽华。
啊。
哎呀，老转圈，等会儿啊，我先重启一下这个，这嘛，重启，我先不重启了，多少带转圈时我再重启。今天我这 party 呢，我的那们带着这个
Far from the house.
，yeah。
你有垃圾箱子，咱得这个。
Checking the temperature outside.
那个楼上不还有箱子了吗？
来。
没有，我把我的小箱子自己
我知道，楼上你那个房间里头还有个大箱子。
What do you want me to say?
你们这是上哪儿的？
Yeah, your water. The refrigerator water tastes very good. Have her try it, Lynn. Have her try it. There's no flavor.
他让你试一下回来。
亲爱的兄弟姐妹们，大家好。
Where's your car?
刚才我那个，你好
I think. Where's your car?
，Allen。
In the garage?
刚才我那个把那路由器弄一下，刚才不好意思，有点转圈，有点卡。
I have to read.
我这
摆这儿去还是
我们这个朋友叫
I look scary.
Arthur.
Arthur.
Arthur。
Yes, I read books. No.
My friend name is Arthur. Arthur. Arthur。我这个大姐的这个老公啊，一说到共产党就倍儿气愤，所以说我说正好我说我直播一下，他还不好意思的。
I think it's you too.
你过来，你坐这儿来，你坐这儿，你
你好吗？晚上好。
晚上好。阿林，阿林，坐那儿。
他让你翻译，
你不给他翻译一下吗？
这翻译多好。
啊。他一听到共产党，他就倍儿讨厌，特别反感。刚才吃着饭就聊到这个中国现在不给新办护照了，还有那个香港这个问题，知道吗？你好，你好，我这眼神都看不见。对，那天我去红地坡忘买，我一戴上，哟呵，倍儿清楚。
你戴它试试。You need reading glasses now.
有点晕。
那你到不了，它是1.75。
哦
For
估
reading.
计1，我也不知道1.5。
哎呀，我想啊，咱们就是嘛呢，没事就是瞎聊会儿。我说这个外国人怎么看共产党？
什么
As a foreigner, how do you see
CCP
piece of shit.
直接就爆粗口了，这个我听得懂。shit，
The shit on my boot, on my foot.
什么？
就是我鞋尖上
I
的
step in the dog shit on my foot.
踩了一坨狗屎。
啊，他说共产党就像他鞋底儿踩的狗屎啊！你看底下人都有懂的，我英文不行，我得喊那个喊我那朋友。
Because they treat the people like shit. It's a joke that they're part of human rights
对，
on a United Nations. Absolute joke. They must have paid money.
他们在联合国的人权那个理事会有一席位，简直就是个天大玩笑。
Human Rights
你离近点儿
Council.
你坐这儿你进不来镜头，你就离近点，你声音小
坐在那边
啊，你声音小。
For 25 years, I've been saying they should stop feeding the
你再拿个
CCP.
凳子。
25年了，他一直
二
看的刚新的，
25年了，
他一直在说。
谁一直在说？哦，我这个美国这朋友他说25年了，一直在说共产党这个不好。
什么？
So for the past 25 years, what have you said about
I've
this?
been telling people they should stop giving so much business to China unless they give something in exchange. So if we give you some business and open up, you need to open up and give more human rights. Or we cut it
25
off.
年来，我一直在跟人说，既然你愿意给中国
Compromise
生活，那他们应该给我们一些回报，至少在人权方面能够做到一些回报。但事实上呢？
你离近点，声音太小。
Because giving them money and power to build a military to participate as an enemy to the West in World War III is
给
terrible.
他们很多的帮助、资助、人力、物力以及这个资源。那他们现在军队也强大了。可是现在的后果呢是什么呢？
It's Russia and China,
俄罗
World
斯
War
和
III
中国是一样的
adversaries. They stand against human rights.
他们是像这两个国家，
东北人都这样。我有呻吟吗？这有个三哥，他一上来我有呻吟吗？你好，
你好，
你好，你好，燕儿姐好，有文化。那个网不好，我刚才重启了一下，刚才有点卡。刚才我不是就请我那个几个。 好，她的老公啊是痛恨共产党的，聊着，我一看赶紧吧，咱来个直播，没事跟大伙儿聊会儿，知道吧？他25年了，对共产党的痛恨比他妈还恨了。他现在你好，燕儿姐，他现在一听到香港啊，也倍儿气愤。你是
So you're
大点
very,
声。
whenever you hear about the Hong Kong people what they're experiencing now, you are very furious, right?
I blame England for giving in. After so many years, they made a deal with the old regime, not with the CCP. So all
把香
voided.
港还给回中国，
They sold the people off basically by handing them
把
off
香港人卖
to a
给
dictator.
给共产党。
他等于把香港
That's
人
not，fair. The people had no say so.
对香港人来说是很不公平的。
他就认为香港回归中国是对香港人民的不公平，就等于把香港人民卖给了共产党，造成现在这种局面。
So the exchange was by keeping the peace with China and give Hong Kong back, then continue to have lucrative business. And that's basically sold the people off in a way. You know, they made a deal with the old regime. That regime's dead. So the deal's off.
等于那个之前签订那种合约已经是清王朝的了，按照他的理解是根本不奏效。所以按照清王朝旧的这种所谓的签的约，你现在把香港人又卖给共产党政权。所以现在这种局面是对香港人的最不公正的一个对待。
对。你知道现在香港快1年了，上 every day on the street。
The protests like almost every day for a year.
I know.
Yeah, 他知道。
死了很多人，死了很多人。
Many people dying.
I know. I've seen it.
他知道，他也看到。
他知道，他
And
看
we don't know
到。
how many people die
但
in
是我们
jail.
不知道有多少人，到底有
Many
多
people
少人。
went to jail,
不知
never
道。
come out. They could be dead. We don't know.
我们也不知道多少
对，包
人。
括多少人死掉，包括多少人被关起来、被关押起来，
对
都不知道，甚至关押起来是不是就死掉了也不知道。
对。
No.
我侄女在这儿了，侄女不上京。哎呀，所以说这有时老外啊看中国，跟咱中国人看中国又不一样了。他就说这个中国的这个领导人啊，共产党啊，就是一坨屎啊，他鞋底儿的一坨屎，知道
I
吧？
asked how many.
哎，
How many?
Did you say thank you?
Oh, Shishini.
谢谢你。哎呀，你好，安东尼因。安东尼因，你看你这个名字应该英文行啊，你要英文行了，我就不翻译了啊。
太好了。
这是谁？翔，你好。我这个朋友他就会说你好，什么？ 对不起，谢谢，
你很好，
你很好。
还会说再见。
还会说再见，他是特别的热心肠，他是一个共和党的，他支持川普。
yeah， 他会说不，你老外。
哦，你老外。
我跟你说，他老外。
对，不，你老外。
你老外，你老外。啊哈。
进来这仨蛾子。哎，刚才没脸一开门。
我帮你洗点什么？
咱这太亮了。
没事。
我应该帮你一起洗。
他知道郭文贵吗
？No。
不用擦，让他自己干。
What?
Do you know Miles Gore?
咱俩还有酒吗？
Miles who?
The rich guy who's against CCP.
He's in the United States.
He's in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, you shared with me, and he can't go back. He was a billionaire, and a lot of his assets are taken away. CCP, piece of shit. They steal everything.
他不是很知道，知道的不多。
The worst things they do are the things you don't know.
对，珍姐直播。今天我这个老外朋友，我们一吃饭，一说到共产党了，他就倍儿痛恨嘛。
他说最坏的事儿，他们所做的都是咱们还不知道的。
对，所以说珍姐，你不用那个，你不用翻译。那个。
It's really good.
Yeah.
Cool. I get fat.
以前我从国外拿进来的凳子。
咱歇一会儿。
我去国外拿个凳子。
哦，你不用。
But I have to go exercise.
I know.
你不用哎，珍姐。
There you go, Lynn.
I want this.
Wait, how do you live it?
你要不用，你用你哎，珍姐，你采访他完了。
Cake is delicious.
珍姐，你采访他行吗？因为我英文不行啊。
Wow.
嘿 ，stop。
好，我给你打过去啊。
Oops.
哎呀，
那个什么，那个，我吃了好多东西，转达给你，你别忘了。好。
珍姐。
Give me fat.
哎，我怎么弄？我现在做了。
别小点声啊。喂。
等一下啊，等一下，我马上就回来啊，我马上就回来，2分钟啊。
好，没事儿。珍姐30年了吧，30多年了，在圣地亚哥。
这是那个威廉。
So good, but not healthy for me.
你看，他就一边念 so good, but unhealthy.
But so delicious.
Just say so good, I enjoyed it. And then
哎呀
unhealthy, I was starving.
我这几个姐姐都是老美
No, I go for a
国
long，bike ride.
就我英文不好。
Just say I enjoyed it.
Salad, carrots tomorrow.
I'll be all good tomorrow.
I just bought her bike.
Oh, you did?
And first time in over 20 years she rode a bike. And I made her ride it in the store to see if it works.
So you bought 2 bikes then?
No, I already have one.
Oh, so where?
But they only have one bike in the store.
Do you have a trail somewhere near by your house?
There's trails everywhere, yeah. So, and then she
我-
needed something from the
我没
store,
几年。
so I rode the bike to the store and back.
我没有文棍好， 没有文棍好，我就是简单的，
My house.
就出租车那方面儿。
From my house all the way to the beach. Only 7 miles.
哎
That's
呦，我
all?
这眼真花了，
That's a lot.
我看到你了，胡老大。
7 miles.
Is it uphill or downhill?
I never ride it.
His goal is 50 miles.
Oh, you kidding me?
Did I say that?
好，
I think the lady said it in the store.
I've done
等会儿啊，
100-mile road march. Some.
他叫 Arthur，
Let me see what's this.
那叫什么？
Is that salty?
Arthur，
杨梅。
我英文不好，Arthur，
Just one.
Yeah.
谢谢。
不好念。
my
Arthur.
Arthur，how are you？
Arthur.
嗯，my
No,
my，
I'm not gonna talk to myself. 好，你好吗？
啊，你们现在开课 哦，上次就
哎，小点声。
Nice to meet you.
Oh, nice to meet you too. Thank you. Shishini.
Author.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too. What's your name?
My name is Jin Jin.
Jin Jin.
Yes.
Okay, nice to meet you. Nice name.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Are you on the YouTube? Or, I don't know what's going on. I think he's doing the YouTube, and then I guess you're on the phone.
你问的几个问题，郑姐？
Can I ask you some questions?
Where are you? Are you here?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, you can ask me.
Yeah. What do you think about what's going on in Hong Kong?
It's terrible. I kind of blame the British for not standing up to China and saying, hey, we made a deal with the old regime. They're not here anymore, so the deal's not with you. It's off. But because a lot of money is at stake and they don't want to have conflict and a lot of business could be locked up in funds, they probably just go with the rolls. But, you know, the people had no voice at all, and that's just wrong. We got to look in the future, not look at today. We're okay today for 10 years. And after that, it's like, you know, they're going to treat them like shit just like they do Chinese. And the worst things that the CCP does is what you don't see behind the scenes in prison when people disappear for 5 years, 10 years, or they're never seen and they're forgotten. Maybe buried in a work camp making cheap, free products for the government.
等会儿啊，郑姐，你翻译一下。你说。
They're going to treat the Chinese as, I mean, the Hong Kong the
等
same
会儿啊
way.，
等会儿你说。
我再跟他说一会儿，我再给你讲吧。
哦，OK。
And I'm glad Trump is actually speaking up because, go ahead.
What do you think about the United States eventually gonna help people from Hong Kong?
Well, I can tell you this: if the Democrats get elected, no, only talk. Trump is the only one that might have a chance to do something, but you know, it is. If anyone would do sanctions against China because of human rights violations, it would be Trump. The Democrats don't have the nerve to do it. They do a lot of talk and no action, and everybody's afraid of losing business. Now, Trump's a businessman, but he is, you know, more willing to stand out of ordinary and do something, especially if he gets pissed off. So I would like to see something done. What's it going to do? I don't know. My worry is it's going to put China back to the 10-year revolution, which I think they're already in process of doing anyhow.
Trying to be cute.
So whatever happened back in, you know, the 70s, we could be seeing a repeat of that. You know, Tiananmen Square all over, but in Hong Kong.
Right.
At some point, the tanks will probably roll in the streets, unfortunately.
Trying to be cute.
If they do that and they actually start, it gets recorded them killing lots of people, I think that there'll be huge sanctions against China. And already Trump offered to help pay for the cost of moving companies out of Hong Kong and out of China. It doesn't help the Chinese people unless China reacts to it in a positive way. But because CCP, it's a one culture country. I mean, I know there's more than one culture. There are different regions in China that were different nations at one time, but they're still all considered Chinese, a very similar culture. And so because of that one set mindset, one people, and country before individual, they are willing to sacrifice anybody and everybody for their goal. And the problem is that this attitude of we can do no wrong and we'll hide all of our wrongdoings. We don't want to look bad. If you can't expose the wrongdoings of a nation, then you're not going to correct yourselves. You won't admit the problem. You won't fix the problem. And it will continue and nothing changed. So the attitude of the leadership will be that we don't want to hurt ourselves and make ourselves look bad. Put our backs in the corner. We will not yield. We will not give to you. We'd rather make our people suffer first. That's what I fear. And I fear the CCP would allow their people to suffer before giving in for the better of their society. But hopefully put enough pressure, maybe leadership would get rid of the leader. She. So, and maybe it's these kind of things that actually at some point, I'm just like North Korea, if he was leader was to die, and maybe somebody would step in and say, instead of keeping things going the way it is, we'll make change that's a little better. We've seen the suffering that's been under the leadership. But China is benefited a lot under this recent leadership only because the West has been open to them and they've been open to that. But they've only taken and not really given. They haven't made changes that need to be made, like their companies unaccountable for anything. Corrupt accounting just is a joke. It's accounting is whatever they want it to be. It's not legitimate. It's not ethical. And every successful company, you have the government involved in controlling in the back doors and taking part of the profits or stealing part of the company. They do whatever they want. You question them, you're in jail. Beaten on the streets too. I've seen that too many times.
Right.
So it's terrible. It's hard to believe that people are still treated like this, especially in a huge society. It looks modern when you look at the cities, that they're still treated like this in this day and age. But China's not the only place. Africa, the Middle East, some parts of South America, horrible. You know, Chinese people go to Africa sometimes to work. They end up the women get murdered and they take their organs and stuff. Someone sent me a video of this. I was disgusted by it. You know,
Right.
the parts of the world that are not westernized in this. I'm not saying you got to be fully westernized because the West goes too far, but at least some sanity in the way you treat people, human rights and basic human rights and
basic
common
stuff.
sense.
Common sense.
Yeah,
Right.
and like the county isn't common sense, but is to China, you know, you've got, for some reason, China was able to work out a deal that they could be listed on the New York Exchange in the United States without using the accounting practices, checks and balances that the U.S. and other companies have to use that are on Wall Street. But China was an exception. Probably, my guess would be maybe just to lure them in. And who knows, maybe somebody got paid, but treating them special because maybe Chinese government demanded so much and the compromise was always in favor of the Chinese government and allowed them to continue with corruption. And you got to start making them accountable with stuff, one chip at a time. Over the years, you chip away at it. You can't get all at one time, but it takes time. So you want benefits. You want to be in the New York Stock Exchange. You want to benefit from the West. You need to show that you're worthy to be part of our society by having basic human rights and certain things done that are, you know, slowly and gradually, and then you chip that stone into the shape you want. It's not done overnight. If you ask too much at one time, you won't get it. But I think it wasn't done, and I've always been disappointed because we have not demanded a little more, at least asked and looked for records and held China accountable for the massive incarcerations and murder that they do.
Do you think that China will ever change by themselves?
Eventually they will change. I don't know if it'll be in 1 year or it'll be 200 years, but no, they won't last forever. They won't.
Yeah, but when?
Rather, it's someone in the government, a general, or there could be a district that gets fed up with the federal government, resists them. It could be someone within the government. All things come to an end eventually. And you look at the history of China, every single regime has come to an end at some point or another. May have taken a long time.
300 years of history, Chinese history, any dynasty changing average about 300 years.
我为嘛这声音那么小呢？
Things happen faster now. It's different. Things happen faster. Markets move faster. Information moves faster. The responses to incidents, rather it's technologically, it's housing market, or it's the stock market, it's regimes. Everything happens faster because the information and technology moves everything faster and accelerates things. The response could be much more abrupt because of the new technology and sharing of information, making the world smaller, putting an incident that happens like in Hong Kong or in China right in someone's household, right, and giving some access maybe indirectly to Chinese of what the truth is. So more Chinese today probably know the truth than they ever did in the past
Right.
because of technology from the West that,
一会儿我们大姐记不住了，翻
that's
译。
been
What
put
do
in
you think
place
about
in China.
Taiwan?
大家挺开心。
What do you think about Taiwan? The situation in Taiwan?
Taiwan belongs to Taiwan, never going to go to China. China has this stupid attitude that somehow the CCP thinks that it belongs to them. No, China belongs to Taiwan if you want to really go that way, because the government actually left to Taiwan because they did bulk fighting against Japan. And so technically China belongs to Taiwan and China should have democracy. So if China wants to play that attitude, throw it back in their face. So if China ever tries to invade Taiwan, why do you think our battleships are out there? Why do you think we have so many battleships out in the region and we're always cruising in it to let China know these seas don't belong to them? International law prevails, not yours. If you invade Taiwan, they have U.S. military equipment. They're not big. But if you look, the size of their country is very powerful military-wise compared to China. If you took the same size, because they have military equipment, and our ships are and battleship. We have aircraft carriers in the area. If they attacked Taiwan, and didn't stop, it wasn't a one-time thing. I mean, I could see Trump knocking out those bases and places that attacked them, helping Taiwan. And I think we have an obligation to the free world.
Right.
Protect freedom
Right.
at any
郑
cost.
姐倍儿棒，一会儿给咱
What's
翻。
that?
Do you think between China and the US will have a war in the future?
这3块钱一个也得买呀。
It is possible at some point. World War III, if things don't change, World War III will be Iran, Russia, and China. I've always said this since I was in my, 20 years old. Since probably I was a kid, I always thought this my whole life.
Wow.
So when I was in the army, our enemy in training was Russia, communism. Communism was our enemy we were raised, and it still is the world's enemy, and it still is the freedom's enemy. I don't call them communism, I call them dictators. Because they don't really follow communism. They follow, and that's Iran, Russia, North Korea, China. They all defend themselves no matter how obscure, ridiculous, and embarrassing the comments they make and how unreal and untrue it is. They just say things and they defend each other. And they do it through the UN too. I think it's a joke that any of them are on the UN because no one should be on the UN, I think, unless it actually the representatives that go to the UN from those countries should represent the people. Whether the people's mindset is wrong or not, it needs to be the values and be a representation of the people. And if it's not, they're representing only corruption in their deep pockets. So I think it's a joke that China, Russia, any of those countries that have dictatorships, or even in part of the United Nations as a seat. Because we're supposed to promote world peace through human rights. And how can you have human rights upheld and supported and promoted when you have members who hate it and fight against it and vote against it constantly? Anything that would even support it remotely. And you have China has a board a member on the seat for human rights council. Council means you're going to counsel people and on human rights. How can you have someone counsel on human rights when they have zero respect for human rights? It's a joke. I mean, they have. So for years, the United Nations, something of the West with good intentions created, is now just a freaking joke. It's an absolute joke. It gets nothing done. It protects nobody. I mean, you have a better chance of Trump protecting somebody in the United Nations. They don't deserve a lot of money from us. Just like who? World Health Organization deserves nothing from us. Thank you, Trump. You cut them off.
Right.
You allowed China to go ahead and buy their way. I don't have proof that they bought money, but how else do you get these Western people to just keep silent when they're so aggressive and like, against Trump and against, the left is so vocal, and yet when it comes to this, they're like all of a sudden they're silent. And then I saw a little video. It showed one of the WHO members was asked by this Asian lady, so what do you think of the job that Taiwan's doing with the coronavirus? Well, it's not coronavirus, it's CCP virus, okay? And so, that's what I'm always saying and posting. And so, when that happens, when she said that, he pretended he couldn't hear her and disconnected. And then she called him back, and he took it and said I couldn't hear it. And then when he finally responded, he thought about it. He said, oh, okay, well, instead of responding to Taiwan's actions against the virus on how they've responded, if they did a good job, they didn't. He actually says, oh, well, China is doing a very good job. Bullshit. All their numbers are fake. Probably add about 100 to that or something. It wouldn't be unbelievable if you added 100, because you saw lines in the hospitals that you never see in America. And our left, the Democrats are so liberal, they like follow no fine lines of right or wrong, but yet they expect the conservatives and Republicans to follow a fine line because they have boundaries, but yet they step out a second, they chop them. And the left can do whatever they want. So like this person said one time on an airplane, I knew a person, and her friend was on an airplane in a private jet. And it's kind of like the CCP, okay? No boundaries, just kind of change the lines, however, whatever it fits them. So this lady was on the private jet with her boss, and he tried to make a hit on her to have sex with her. And she says, why would you do that? You're married. He says, I'm Democrat, we're liberal. It's okay. And it's always the way I explained them before, and now I only have proof from someone else saying it. This is their attitude. And the CCP and these organizations, like, anything goes. We just rewrite the rules as we go along. But you need to follow them if you define yourself as conservative. You can't do anything. You got to follow the rules. We don't have to follow anything. And that's the way it is here. It's the way CCP is. And it's terrible. So the WHO does not recognize Taiwan as an independent nation because that's what China wants them to say. So obviously, there's a shitload of money being paid to them. Otherwise, these Western people who are so open and supposed to be liberal for freedom and democracy wouldn't be doing that unless money made them bend their values. I'd rather be dead or sacrifice myself to kill one of these leaders if it would make a difference to save millions of people from such tyranny and such oppression and jail and death. And that was why when I joined the army, why I did, because I want to help eliminate dictators who are oppressing people, especially the women and children. In fact, so much that I stood up and I took a bank robber out, was holding a woman hostage in Chase Bank one time.
Wow.
行了吗，郑姐
Sorry I talk so much. Go ahead.
太长了。
What's your other question?
你给我拿个充电线。
I can't hear her. Turn it up.
Questions. I think he's too tired. Okay.
Who's tired?
不是，我让他翻
I
译。
wake you
哦 ，no no no！ 我说郑姐，你翻译翻译。
He's tired.
Who's tired?
Your friend. He's holding the phone.
我没累，
Andy.
我没累，no tired。我想让郑姐翻译翻译，给底下人咱不懂啊，我也没听懂。
Okay, your friend want me to translate. I think
Andy. That's English.
Everybody.
translate.
Oh, everybody. Okay.
Yeah. 郑姐，你说，
Everybody?
你给翻译吧，郑姐，大概齐。
我
Is the volume up?
我只能大概齐了。
对
他就讲这个，他就对。
你那边声音大点儿，姐姐，
我这声音小吗？
我感觉有点小。
是吗？我看一下啊，我把声音
好点了，好点了。
好一点了吗？
刚才声音倍儿好，
Christmas again?
你给咱兄弟姐妹们翻译翻译。
我只能看到就是
But when Christmas comes, I
我
won't
就
quite
问
feel
了
like
一下
Christmas.
他对中国共产党非常了解，他知道共产党在中国怎么样欺负老百姓啊，怎么样去摘人家器官呐、然后我就问他孩子香港的问题他怎么看，他跟咱们看的一样，他就认为就是共产党在那个地方搞的嘛，他就觉得 就是
什么
非常，就是香港的问题，他跟咱们想的都一样的，没什么区别。他非常了解中国，然后我就问他台湾的问题怎么看，然后再问他那个联合国，联合国的那个安理会，中国在那地方花钱买，然后呢，Trump 就是说就退出了好多嘛，然后我问他南海的问题，他就跟咱们想的都一样的，他没什么讲什么，就是对，他跟咱们讲的一样，然后我就那个他。我问他，我说你觉得共产党能倒吗？他说共产党他觉得能倒。我说你川普能会帮助吗？他说那就是第三次世界大战了。他说他从小的时候就觉得第三次大战会发生。他说如果发生的话，就是咱们中国和这个苏联还有伊朗，他们会北朝鲜，他们这是一伙的。第三次世界大战会爆发的。说如果爆发，就是他们是一伙的，剩下这自由世界不是一伙的。就是他。挺有意思的，跟他唠嗑挺好玩儿。
你唠嗑我不会唠，我可着急了，因为嘛呢？他倍儿了解这个共产党这邪恶，知道吗？我倍儿奇怪。
说吧。
我说我倍儿奇怪，他怎么那么了解共产党的邪恶呢？倍儿哏儿。
是的，实际上美国人好多就是，你要是看美国电台的话，你要是看 Fox News， 看那个推特里头那个就是英文的那个。大家都知道，那好，你要跟那真的大家好多人都知道。
他是川普的支持者。
对，我知道他是。
是吧？
他是共和党的，对。
对
他说民主党，如果是民主党的话，民主党不会那个帮助中国人的。我问他，我说你觉得这个 Trump 会不会帮助香港人？他说那就是 Trump 已经在帮助就是香港的企业给他们出钱，叫他们给。退回美国，他说已经是这样了。他说的要是在一定的程度下，他认为就是 Trump 会帮忙。他说 Trump 要是不帮忙的话，那民主党肯定不会帮忙。他说民主党只会讲，
只会说，
一般讲，他就讲这个，就是他跟咱们讲的都一样。
哎，多奇怪！
对，
口炮，民主党是口炮。
一样。讲的挺好的，跟他唠嗑去，就像跟我同事唠嗑。
你再问他几个问题，看他给他问倒了啊。
问不倒，都一样的问题。我本来我就想问他川普的那个，他认为就是选举和这个Joe Biden，他觉得Joe Biden有多大的希望会赢
？Joe Biden
Joe Biden's getting senile.
Yes, I agree.
He would never last 2 years.
I know. I think he already
He's having episodes. Yes, he is.
Right.
And he is. I know Trump says some stupid things sometimes, but
right.
he handles some other talks about other issues that nobody else would dare do, which is good.
Important ones.
Yeah, Joe Biden though he
can't figure out the daily stuff.
I couldn't believe this last thing I saw him talking to some people, looked like in Africa, and he was talking about a kid rubbing his leg up and down and his hair standing up. So I know about cockroaches. He was comparing the child to cockroaches and talking about how the kid was rubbing his leg up and down. I'm like, what is wrong with you? What is the point in this? He was having a senile moment. It sounded gross.
He just recently, he talked to a black guy on the TV.
Yeah.
Did you see that? That is crazy. He says,
you ain't black if you vote for Trump.
Oh my gosh, I saw so
There actually are black people voting that vote for Trump.
Oh my gosh, now gonna be so many black people gonna vote for Trump because of that.
Did the black people get mad? I didn't see the reaction. I just saw the video and.
Oh my gosh, I saw the reaction on Twitter. It's crazy. Everybody.
Basically, he's saying you don't have a freedom to choice. There's this choice, or you're just dog shit.
Right, you belong to me. You belong to me. You're gonna vote for me or not? That is just ridiculous.
郑姐，你问他贸易战了吗？
我没问他贸易战，我在刚才讲那个Joe Biden，就是那个副总统那个Joe Biden，我问他那个他怎么看，就是最近那个在美国的网站上，这在咱们中国人好像不讲这个，就是说在美国的那个网站上讲Joe Biden，你知道是谁吧？那个就是那个要选总统那个
拜登嘛，乔拜登嘛。
拜登，他在就 就是有一个在电视上有跟一个黑人在 interview 的时候，他俩在谈，他告诉这个黑人，他说你们黑人都要选我，你要不选我，你们就是不是真黑人。这一下把黑人都惹。
我操，还说这话？
对呀，黑人都在骂。
Crazy. Joe Biden crazy.
Well, he's a softer version of the rest of them. So if anybody has a little bit of chance of winning, it would be him. But he's losing his memory, so a lot of people would be turned off, and they probably won't even show up to the polls that would have voted for him. So he's probably gonna lose votes if people just don't show up, or they show up just to make sure Trump doesn't get in. But I think a lot of people that were on the border, they were like, "They can't put that guy in. He's mentally not there," and he keeps talking about acting weird towards women and talking about children. I mean, just something's wrong.
Right? I think he's having
creepy.
Alzheimer.
I think he's creepy
He's
though.
creepy too.
And the way I've seen him touch Hillary and like it's his wife in public, it's like really weird.
Right. So your friend asked me to ask you, what do you think about the trade war between China and the U.S.?
I've been all for it. And the reason is that it's a give and take, and China can't just keep taking. They're stealing data. Recently, a couple months ago, before the virus was, epidemic got real bad, I think it was January, I had learned that China it was about a year and a half ago, they just reported and went public with it, that one of the credit bureaus in the United States, one of the 3 credit bureaus, I don't remember which one, had over 100 million people's... Was it Equifax? You found it? That they had access and stolen data, social security numbers and everything. And so when these things happen, China facilitates, the government itself facilitates this kind of behavior and allows it unchecked, no checks and balances, no accounting practices that are consistent. It's just whatever goes. It's like a mafia.
Right. Mafia.
The government is a mafia, and it's just and they're any big corporation like Huawei, however you say their name. I mean, they get access to stuff, and then they had actually memos and emails that were publicized that they were openly asking their employees to steal data, and the bigger the data breach theft, the bigger the reward. If that was to happen here, people would get fired and go to jail. Because there's a rule of law, but there is none in China. It's just the rule of law is whatever they decide to follow that benefits them. But if you're nobody, and you don't have enough money, you're just going to be victimized and stolen from, and it's terrible. And now I've been hearing that they want to control everybody's money paperless through electronic money through the phones or something? Is that what it was? So, basically they can cut people's funds off and stop the trading of money. So that's probably what's going to come to. And then they already control everybody through the airways, internet and so forth. And VPNs, I think, have been disappearing, from my understanding. So it's getting pretty scary. The 10-year revolution has started, and it's only going to get worse. And it's a Cold War between the West and China.
Right.
It's already started. It's partly our fault because we've had leadership that's allowed this to go unchecked instead of trying to get them to open up and being too lenient. But they should not have been given special treatment. They should have to follow the same rules and guidelines of business ethics, human rights, accounting practices, all sorts of things.
Oh, okay.
Start with Clinton.
OK， 珍姐，好的，那个底下咱有一个网友啊，他问川普接受记者采访时表示，过几天会有重大制裁，是什么制裁？你问问他，他知道吗？
我是觉得他不会知道，因为他怎么能知道呢？没人知道，
不是，
只有上面的人才知道。
我知道，就是说美国人嘛，你看看他看新闻吗
Okay, so your friend want me to ask you, Trump, Trump says in the
让他预测一下。
Yeah, Trump said something. He's gonna have some action, gonna punish China at big time.
Sanctions, probably.
Sanction, yes.
He could even freeze their money. They could, if it escalated that far.
Freeze the money.
Freeze.
The government.
So they could, if so, like if somebody did something wrong and they're sued and they don't want to pay up, they could always freeze assets and the appropriate people they think it should be responsible for government money. But you know that would be hard to do because there's a lot of money invested by China over here. But and it would cause a big problem. But yeah, that could be done. Government bonds and stuff like that. So there are things that can be done. So basically, he's just telling them, you won't play hard. We can play hard too, and it's kind of limitless what he could do. But would never expect he wouldn't go and attack China. That's for sure. China.
You don't think he's gonna have like a military action?
No. No, people try to make things out of that, but no. He didn't even respond to Iran when Iran attacked the base.
Right, exactly.
Although they deserve to have their general killed, who was leading all the criminal activity and all the distribution of weapons that were killing our soldiers, and actually some of his own soldiers attacking us.
Right.
You know.
什么意思啊？
OK， 我给你解释一下，就你刚才问的问题，就是说，Trump 说的将来要有什么大的事儿，我问他你觉得是什么事儿？他说那你会不会有可能他也是猜测了？他说会不会有可能就是把那个钱呢会冻结政府的一些钱啊什么的？因为中国在美国因为投资了好多钱嘛，会不会有这个东西？
哦。
然后我问他只是就是猜测嘛，他说的。
我明白。
他说如果你们要是玩赢了呢，我们也可以玩赢了，就是。然后他就讲。他说这个，他那个时候什么，我就脑子不好使了。
哦，等于他也是猜测呗。
都是猜测，然后我就问他，我说那个，我说你认为Trump 会不会用这个武力在部队上，就是用军队来就跟中国有什么武力行为？他说他认为不会有的。他说你看跟伊朗的时候，跟伊朗的时候，伊朗都扔那个。扔那个弹往那个军营里扔，虽然没打到这个战区，但是扔都没，就说美国都没有去跟他打起来仗。他认为中国和美国不会在武力上打仗，这是他的看法，咱也是他的看法。
他认为不会打仗。
他认为不会有武力，就说在近期内不会有武力，他不会有武力。他认为我也是这样认为，我非常同意他。
大姐。没有武力，共产党他妈灭不了，他就得让咱盼着他打台湾。他说他打了台湾吗？你问他这问题了吗？
哎，我没问他打台湾的问题。
你问他，姐姐。
你想叫我问怎么？
你说中国这个军队会不会攻打台湾？你说吧。
My friend asked me to ask you, what do you think about it? What do you think the possibility China will ever attack Taiwan?
Taiwan's going to act like Russia. They're going to gradually push the limits to see how the responses are, how far they can go. So Russia Vladimir Putin has hijacked the elections. He's not the official leader. He lost the elections, then created himself on his own position by rewriting the constitution. He was not elected. He lost the election, and he illegally flies these nuclear bombers over Europe, over Alaska, trying to see what kind of response would be by Europe, by the U.S. So they know the behavior, how far they can go, and intimidate, and if there actually is a World War III, what they could expect in a response. And his biggest regret is that they had lost Eastern Europe, which they had no right to anyhow. They stole it in World War II. Should have had their asses kicked by Joe MacArthur, who could have taken him, but our president allowed it to. So we had all of Eastern Europe hijacked by communism and dictatorship, and millions of people were killed by the Russians. Everywhere communism exists, lots of people are murdered. And we'll never know the true number. A lot of people, millions have been murdered in China, starting with, World War II forward, by the hands of the communists. But they're going to push and see how far they can go and what the reaction is. And so, like when Russia moved into Ukraine, they had to see what kind of response would be, and it's a chipping away. So you would say you would never allow Taiwan to be taken over by China. But if China takes over this island, that island gets closer and closer. And before you know it, everybody kind of accepts an idea that war is imminent and we don't want to be part of it. They have time to think about it. But if China just went and bluntly just attacked them, there'd be a quick, swift response.
OK， 你反映一下，简单。
他说呢，中国呢，他就用这个苏联做一个例子啊。他说中国呢就会像苏联一样，就是他说中国呢是会一步一步的往前走，然后呢就会去测验这个自由世界对中国的反应。他说一步一步往前走，一点点往前挪。他说就像当时呢苏联对东欧国家一样，一点一点往前，他看看世界的反应，一点。我
觉得没戏。
他认为他就举个例子啊，他说这个东欧当时苏联就是这样，一点不把这个把这个东欧一点给吃掉。他认为中国的是会这样。他说如果要是说中国的反应，比如说中国突然间就是进攻台湾的话呢，那就是这个中国的结束就会很快，就说中国就会完蛋。
对，
就说这就是他的。
跟咱想的一样。
对，他跟咱想一样。他说这个战争就会非常快的结束。
没错，因为中国跟美国那个兵力你没法比嘛，对吧？
对，他就说这个就是跟咱说的一样。
还有一个大姐，你问问他，如果现在香港啊，现在国际上也不管，如果香港要有一个人挑头，成立一个临时政府，宣布这个美国会不会管？你问问他这，你明白我的意思吗？
我可以试着问一下。
OK，
你把电话拿。
我拿着了。
Your friend asked me to ask you if Hong Kong right now having a temporary government, what do you think about United States government will support the government or just watch?
You mean support the
temporary government?
the temporary new government that they impose? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
From China?
Yes.
Not
from China, from Hong Kong.
Oh, from Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Hong Kong. We're talking about the Hong Kong people.
Right, but I know China's trying to thrust themselves in it in some way of full control, right?
Yeah, but we're talking about, the local Hong Kong people wanted to have they wanted independent. They're gonna have.
United States would support it, of course.
You think the United States will support Trump?
But what would they do, and what can they actually do to change things? That's the real question. The only thing that Trump would be able or willing to do is sanctions and the Democrats wouldn't probably do much, just talk, but Trump is more likely to actually push for sanctions against them. Yeah, unless he has at some point thinking this is too much, too big economically to handle. But I think he's at the point, and the public is a little more ready for that, and he's been trying to prepare people to move your businesses out of China.
Right.
He's been telling them to move them out.
That's what.
And he's still telling them to move them out. And he's even offering to pay for Hong Kong and Chinese companies in Hong Kong and China to move. They want to move to the United States. he said he'd pay for their expenses of moving the factories. So how many of them are actually going to move? They may move somewhere else. They can move to Mexico. They can move to Vietnam. Who knows? But it's just not safe there because anybody has a thriving company in China or Hong Kong, at any time, the will of CCP, if they want to take something over and say, you've been doing illegal activity, if they say it's so, then it is fact in their books, although it may not be. And they can take you and steal it and take all your money.
Right.
Everything. I have a friend who, one of them was one of the owners of the Navy shipbuilding in China. He sold it off because didn't want to have the Chinese government eyeballing him having too much money and power.
Wow.
And have it all lost and be in jail, because that seems to be the protocol.
Right.
Thievery by the thugs, the CCP gangsters.
Right. Mafias.
Yeah.
Okay, 我给你
啊
I'm gonna translate. 我给你翻译一下。他就说香港呢，你问他有没有成立政府，他会不会？你认为美国会不会帮忙？他说他觉得会帮忙，他认为会帮忙。然后呢，他说Trump 会支持这个政府，他认为会支持这政府。
临时政府，对吧？
哎，就是临时政府嘛。他说我就问他，如果香港人要求独立的话，那么成立临时政府，你怎么认为？他认为川普会支持他。
太好了。
我说会不会在什么方面支持？他说在这个川普能够做的呢，一定是会就是用那个经济制裁。用经济制裁来支持。就是你对香港进行经济制裁，同时呢，会把这些做生意的人都拿走，开的公司都拿走，并且 Trump 呢已经花钱，就是说谁要想把在美国就是在香港的公司拿走 ，Trump 会花钱帮助他回美国。这样的已经开始了。然后他说这样的话，他认为 Trump 就是用这些方法来帮助香港人民。那至于就说武力，恐怕就是不会一般时有武力，但是会有这些就是经济上的制裁和这个道义上的就是帮助，就是这个他讲的就是这个。
I know.
There is something else. The United States, the West, Trump has realized, which they probably they've realized before because I've read articles on it, but nothing done about it. Now that's coming closer to more and more to surface, that something has to be done, and that is that we are too reliant on China, outsourcing to them because of cheaper labor. And when we outsource, we also our technology goes there for them to build it. So China has the same technology, just copies it, and who knows, could be making it from the same factory and just slapping their label on it. So there's all the technology gets taken away, and then we're reliant on them for certain stuff, and without them, certain things here have shortages and shut down, and it interrupts manufacturing. We shouldn't be reliant on an adversary. I consider China an adversary, an enemy, the government, and has always been. Although we wouldn't say that because we want to be friendly with them and want business and peace. But as long as they oppress and persecute and kill and murder people, human rights violations, and run things the way they do, they're an enemy to human beings. And they're an enemy to the United States, and they are the World War III, along with Russia, enemy to fight the West freedom and to try to oppress people like Hitler did. So Trump wants to not have things like this happen where things shut down because we have to wait for China. If China gets pissed off at us, they can hold back certain precious metals that they have worked out deals in Africa to mine. By the way, probably those mines are horrendous, probably in conditions that are beyond our imagination. And who knows how many people probably die and have short lives because the conditions are terrible. Because you know how China and other dictators, how they run things and how Africa runs things with very little regulation and concern for the people because they're just a number. They're a stepping stone to get to being more rich. But yeah, they use the excuse actually that it's for the better of China as a whole, one people. But it really is for the top people. It's just a disguise. It's for the top people to get rich and have ultimate control. And filthy rich and oppressed people. You know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist person at all, but there are things that are reasonably true, and don't underestimate dictators that can hide everything and do whatever they want, because the things they do in those non-open societies and have no freedom of press, beyond your imagination. The West can't imagine the things that they have the power to do and will do, we're willing to do, because we live under a different standard of ethics. Do we have problems? Of course. Do we have unethical things? Of course. But we share them to the world so we can like shame ourselves and tell ourselves to improve on it. So then China uses that to display to people how terrible we are. But it's 100 times worse when you look in the deep secrets of China and other dictators, not just them, of closed societies have no freedom of speech, no freedom of press. The things they hide are just horrendous, and the murder. I mean, just as a foreigner, I remember going to the Three River Gorge where the tall Buddha is, and because a foreigner came, the hotel clerk was supposed to call the police. No, a foreigner came. It's like, these are big cities. Why would it be a big deal if a foreigner came? And 12 police officers came in full battle gear and weapons and everything, just because a foreigner was staying there and renting a room. And I was hid in the other side of the building, which was collapsed by an earthquake. Had to hide there until they left. It's just, I thought it was ridiculous.
When that happened?
2013 maybe, or 14, maybe 13.
What city is?
I don't know. It was some city where they had an earthquake 2 years before that or so, 3 years before that, and a lot of it was in probably the Sichuan province, probably, because I was in Chengdu, and there's a Three River Gorge, three rivers that come together, and big cities there, and there was. You guys might not consider big cities, but there was a tall Buddha. A lot of famous actors will have a picture of them next to the Buddha. Huh?
Did you see monkeys?
No, I didn't. But they have stairwells that go up and zigzag. It's pretty cool on the cliff. It's pretty cool. And they had a bunch of, along the roadway, a lot of open caves that they were closed off and they had collapsed. So you could walk in. I started walking. Some of them didn't go too far, because I had no idea. Will they arrest me for going in? Because maybe it's sacred. So, but there are tombs in there from a long time ago, Buddhists and stuff. Huh?
The cliff?
They're along the walkway. You can walk into the tree line about 30 feet, and there's these cliffs, just these walls, and there's caves, and they used to be closed, and all the bricks are falling down. You can walk in any of them because of earthquake.
Right. What did you guys do? The police, the armies or police people holding guns?
Nothing. I never saw them. I went and hid. I went with a friend, and then they came because they had to report. So I'm so sorry I had to report you because you're a foreigner here, and I'm supposed to report. I get a $10,000 fine, and but I need to hide you. So they hid me in the other building.
Wow.
And it was collapsed. But the guy that worked there was staying in that side of the building. And there was another time I remember in Shanghai, a guy was threatening a woman in the store and yelling at her and screaming, and I thought he was going to hit her. So I got in his face and slammed my hand together like, hey, I'm going to beat your ass. Stay away from her. Made very clear, I'm going to knock you out if you touch her. And so he started again. I came up to his face again. And so then I left and I bought a couple of beers. And then I was like, he's probably going to call the police. They have different rules here. So just by threatening him, even though he's threatening her, it's okay because she's a woman. But I threatened him. It's not okay. That's bull on me. So I went and left. I went to the alley instead of the hotel across the street, and I wanted him to see where I was. And then I come back and I see the policeman there with him.
Wow.
So I just flipped them off. They didn't see me though. And then I left. And I went down the alley and shared my beers with some locals just to kind of hang out and fit in until they left. And then I went back to my hotel.
Wow. you're a good person.
Well, thanks. I think if everybody stood up and did the right thing, there would be less crime and there would be less oppression. So I more times I count my hands, I had to save a woman, from some guy or from something or other. And the one time was a guy was holding a hunting knife on a woman, Asian woman in a bank, Chase Manhattan Bank, Chase. So in Sacramento, Northern California. No, Northern California in the United States. There's a black guy holding a woman hostage. He's taller than me, but I came at him. I was just going to ground by the neck and choke him, put him on the ground. But then he pulled a hunting knife out and he had his arm around her neck. And I grabbed a wooden chair and hit him. And he put it to her throat. I grabbed another chair and charged him. And I had this look on my face like, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna knock you out. And he ran freaked out. I didn't give him any time to think. So if I give him time to think, I could do nothing. But I charged him and he just ran freaked out for his life. I chased him around the bank with a chair over my head and got him near the door, and I threw the chair across the bank, hit him in the back and bounced and busted the glass window. It didn't. It shattered, but it didn't fall. It just shatters. It stays in place. Then they caught him about almost a mile away. And the policeman says I can get out of the car and get a closer look at him. So I got out and stepped his face. See, yep, that's him.
You got caught?
Yeah, he got caught. So he was probably around 6'3" at least, and I'm 5'11". But yeah.
You're
Well,
a great person.
think about that's someone's wife, daughter, sister,
Right.
and she doesn't deserve to be treated that way.
Right.
And I think you're a piece of shit to treat her that way, and
Right.
you need to be held accountable.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna translate.
OK，
Right.
Thank you，
哎呀，我跟你讲，刚才刚才你的问题是啥来着？讲太远了，我都忘头了。那刚才你刚才的问题是啥来着？
我刚才问题不就是临时政府那个吗？
不对，你后来又问了一个。
哦，就是会不会那个是打台湾那个？不是。
你刚才问我了一个问题，你问的一个问题我都问完了，现在走不远了。
刚我问嘛
谁
问题？
想起来了？你问。
嘿，我忘了。
那个香港那都问完了，那临时政府都问完，后来你又问了啥问题来
Thank you
着？
for everything. It's very.
哦，经济制裁那个贸易战哈。
You work so hard.
啊，对，贸易战，贸易战，他讲的跟咱们讲的都是一样的。他说，哦，对，他讲你的贸易战，然后就讲，他就说，关于贸易战的问题，他也想补充一点东西啊。
哦，
你想起来了，你给我提醒了，谢谢你。然后他就讲，他说认为现在呢，好多事儿都浮出来了，浮出上面了。就说，他说的，比如说像美国，严重在经济上严重依赖中国，就是在中国生产东西啊，比如说太严重的依赖了。现在呢，美国现在开始意识到这个问题了，然后就开始把这些就是生产就是 manufacture 就是搞生产的这些工厂呢，都可以开始往外撤，自己撤回国，然后在美国建。然后呢，他还讲了，就是说中国政府啊，就是干了好多就不道德的事嘛，偷人家的知识产权呐，偷美国，比如说美国生产了一些东西，他马上他就给仿照出来了。他们都知道这些事，仿照特别快。我们用了很多力量，就是研究，然后他们就给这个仿照出来了。然后他又讲说这个，就是说中国呢，还有中国在非洲采矿的事儿，哎，他们都知道这些事儿，知道吗？中国人在非洲采矿，掠夺那个非洲的矿业资源特别严重。现在，就是说上非洲去用非洲的黑人去廉价劳动力呀，然后那些在非洲廉价掠夺什么钻石啊，什么象牙呀，反正就他们就干些就是不道德的事儿嘛。因为他说在非洲也没有什么规矩嘛，就是严重的压迫人家当地的人，人家当地人都不喜欢这种，他知道好多事儿，然后他就说。然后他就讲，他说他在中国就是在四川的时候，就是那时候地震的时候，在那个期间，他曾经去过四川，然后他说他跟他几个朋友就在四川，他说然后 当地的人就是因为他是外国人，他就来了一帮拿枪的，就是部队的人，就警察什么就朝他来了，就要搜查他，最后人当地的人还得保护他，就是给他藏起来的。就是政府他们就觉得中国政府对外国人不友好嘛，就觉得，然后他就讲他在上海还有一件事，他在上海的时候，他看着一个老公好像是男的打女的，他上去就去管去。
对他倍儿爱管闲事儿。
对，他管闲事儿，他说他
对。
他说他去管，然后就拿胳膊去挡着不让他打，然后这个男的就跑出去叫警察，
对，
叫警察去，然后可能就是他自己老婆，我估计就是打老婆呗，就是，然后他就去管去，他管，然后他又讲他在北加州看着一个黑人也是打人，然后他就跟人家打起来了，他拿那个凳子去打他，他说那人比他都高，然后他把那个人给打跑了，最后一个黑人讲的，他跟我讲他这位就是见义勇为。
对，我们这姐妹说，她老公啊就爱见义勇为，就打抱不平那种人，根急了。
对，他讲的，他讲的挺有意思的，挺有意思的，
挺好，挺好，挺好。行，今天就他也累了。那个 ，you say everybody。
Say goodbye.
Everybody, thank
再见
you, thank you.
you，谢谢你，再见，晚安。
Nice to talk to you.
Nice talking to you too. Thank you.
Thank you
谢
very
谢
Have
郑姐。
a wonderful night.
much.
Good week. God bless.
Lucky.
God bless.
谢谢郑姐，谢谢郑姐。
好的好的
拜拜，
谢谢
拜拜。哎呀，
是不是第一次直播没轮上你说几句？
我没事儿，我就说呀，我们这外国大哥呀，倍儿猛啊，见义勇为，就是恨共产党，知道吗？恨民主党。他说民主党要是当了那嘛呀，就歪了，知道吧？
我熬了好几个小时。
为什么不？哎，为什么？哎，嫂子，你问他知道日本地震吗？还四川地震吗？汶川地震。
Do you know anything about the earthquake in Sichuan? 汶川，四川。
2010.
是2010。
倍儿大呢，对。
2010, I think.
Is 2008 or 2010? I forgot.
I think it's 10.
Do you know anything about it?
A little bit.
20
I went and saw some of the buildings that were collapsed from it. Still were not cleaned up.
2008年，2008年。
It was pretty big.
2008.
2008. Okay.
You know?
2008。
Yeah.
他知道一点点，就是哦 try that. She cooked that for like hours.
That was one of the buildings I stayed in the hotel. The other side was collapsed from it. And then behind the wall, all the buildings were collapsed, but they kind of blocked it off. But they were all collapsed.
有网友问啊，就是为什么四川地震的时候就特别不待见老外，包括日本的援助队援助的，他们中国都不让援助，
这他能知道？
就让他们撤退。你好，你好。
Okay.
Oh, gotta eat that.
I have one.
No,
这没长过，
I ate it.
去火。
Apple.
No,
对，
that's
512，对512，是不是08年？
火胃肺。
哥们儿，放我，
No sugar.
是不是
No.
08年那年奥运会之前？
Healthy. This is only.
谢谢，夫人唱得好，我唱的也行啊，别老都夸他啊。
She cooked for hours. This
Oh.
one. Slow cook.
Okay.
08年，
She insists that you gotta finish.
光看。
08年，
Thank you. 谢谢你。
08年，
08年5月12。
好不等于奥运会之前，就咱开奥运会之前，我都忘了。
生完威廉。
我都忘了汶川地震。哦，对，还抱着他，咱给十四会捐款去了吗？汶川。
那个不是。
Is it finished?
那个是那个什么？是那个冰雨。
All
哦，
done?
在08
Finished?
年。
Oh, there's still people.
谢谢。
对，08年在那。
现在啊，都不乐意骂他妈那文棍儿，
对。
这老外听不懂啊，真的。
不，你老外。
他说你老外。我老婆熬的那个银耳汤，银耳羹。我唱的也棒哈，谢谢。以前嗓子没有这么粗，现在不知道。让老外看看你的问题 ，OK。让老外看看你的问题，我的眼神是真的。
叫啥名字也没用，就老外。
哦，王，等会儿啊。哦，你是英文问题。
Okay, English question.
English。
No translation needed.
哦，好的。
Do the American people know that the free world will continue erode unless it responds to the authoritarian regimes? Well, I feel that way. And I think that part of the reason, like when they had the Vietnam and Korean War, was to prevent the spread of communism spreading and minimizing countries, reducing countries that have democracy. We need to make more of an effort to push democracy in places where it's not at, and that's why we're always involved in the world. Although people always think there's another agenda, this and this and that. But yeah, of course, there's certain countries that have oil, and you don't want bad guys getting lots of money so they can fund terrorism and have too much power and control. Look what happened to China. They have a lot of money, and now look how they use it. They want to take over Taiwan. They want to use it to oppress people and flaunt their power and money and business. So nobody wants to stand up against them and let them do what they want, treat their people however they want. It's none of their business. We just want business. We're afraid of losing business. So you got to stand up before someone gets too much money, too much power. And you have to pick and choose. We have to pick and choose our battles, which countries we can make the difference in the most, and minimize wealth gain into the hands of people who are tyrants and dictators. So, yeah, the West knows that, but I don't think they always actively are acting and responding to it the proper way. So, yeah, democracy can, if we let people like countries like CCP government do what they do, and Russia as well, it puts democracies at risk and they're eroding. I believe they're eroding, yes. So we have to do what we can with every little country that has a chance of being growing in business that can support the democracy. If they have a failed state, then they have a chance for some dictator to jump in, like what Hitler did. He jumped in, terrible economy, took over, and that's what happens. You know, China was very poor at one time, and dictators took over. You offer things it really can't give, probably. So yeah, democracy is eroding and at risk. We need to spread it, not have countries that actually shouldn't have countries actually lose democracy. We need those number of countries with democracy growing, and we need to be more progressive about that. Yeah, the West feels it.
你得问的问题，我们这姐们儿也没听他说的，也没法翻译，就这么地儿的吧。咱也你明白就完了。你能听懂吗？
那就行了呗。
啊，你
Q&A 不属于。
王，你能听懂吗？啊，能听明白吗？我这个朋友啊，在加州这儿难得的遇到了就是这么了解共产党的人，这么支持川普的人太少了，知道吗？因为加州是民主党大本营嘛。叫太太翻译，郑姐，我媳妇儿不行，叫我们那姐们儿倒行，他老婆倒行，他太太倒行。
The Democrats are really the ones eroding our democracy, I feel. A lot of people agree with me.
Yeah, they want to become like socialism.
I call the Democrats CCP.
I think they're the same.
他太太没怎么听，刚才跟我太太说话，跟我太太说话了，就没听。
基本上就是民主党就跟共产党差不多了。把民主放弃，直接就社会主义。
哦。谢谢谢谢，嘿嘿，老华侨，能听到，哎，那都是歌星，咱都是平头老百姓，平头老百姓没事爱唱就唱着玩儿，这2天唱完了再发上去。谢谢您喜欢听我们的歌啊。他通过什么知道的？
I opened the patio.
哎，这是嘛？我都看不见。他通过其他渠道是否知道？哦，刚才问他了，他知道这个人不是特别了解，他知道这个人 Miles 过，他知道。
Then why don't you come in the video with me?
No.
You're my wife.
他是通过什么渠道知道 Miles 过的？是通过我吗？是吧？
你跟我说完，我跟他说。
哦，是我跟姐妹说的，我们姐妹跟她老公说的，知道吧？哎，
还是女的，没变性。
因为她之前就是，她倍儿喜欢中国，她老往中国旅游去，知道吗？她就是知道中国人也好，就是嘛共产党的邪恶，就是她跟咱中国人知道共产党邪恶一样一样。就是刚才珍姐给咱翻译，我就说她怎么跟咱的想法都一样呢？哎呀，但是他还那点我倒不赞成他，就一点点来，跟苏联似的。我不这么太慢了，那样就知道吗？我就觉得让他那谁亚军来了，我就恨不得他赶紧打台湾，一打台湾，共产党就马上就完蛋了就。问题这2天他又不打了，演了半天，他妈妈吹了半天牛逼。郭文贵跟他是一样的。亚军来晚了，因为我今天不聚会嘛，这老外刚我们吃着饭，他就说到提到了香港的好多美资，就川普让都撤回来，中国不都撤的差不多了吗？我理解错了，珍姐。你不说他要让共产党跟苏联那样吗？慢慢的就解体了吗？慢就会让魔鬼继续作恶，没错呢，我就说这意思。对，你，哦，等会儿，我们珍姐倍儿好。又一个问题。
Excuse me, sir. Do you know Gannon? What
主
is?
任，
哎，
你刚才理解错了，
啊，
可能是我解释的不太准确，我可能不清楚哈。
啊，
他的意思是什么呢？就是你刚才问的问题，我问他的问题就是说，我不是说你认为这个中国共产党会打台湾吗？他回答就是说，他是回答这个问题。他的意思就是说，他说共产党呢会一步一步的去这个探测自由世界的看法，就是共产党会一点点往前取，就是一点点的想去取食台湾。
哦，
他是这个意思，就是说他认为他如果就是搞台湾的话有2种嘛。一种就是说你要去进攻，突然间进攻；一种呢是一点点取食，他一点点一步一步往前走。
哦，
对，他举的例子就是说苏联嘛，可能我刚才说的不是很清楚。
哦，
就说他说苏联呢，就是说，苏联当时呢搞这个东欧国家就是这样一步一步的取食，最后呢，把这个东欧国家都给搞到手。他说。当时苏联的时候，就是一步一步往前去看这个别人的这个别的国家怎么去看待，他一点点往前，就是试探着走往前。 他认为台湾呢会试探着，就是中国会试探着去搞台湾。他不会一下子
不会愣打。
对他认为是这样。他说如果要是愣打的话，这个就简单了。
对，
简单了。
咱希望他愣打。
I heard the name Gannon.
对，他说如果是愣打的话，这件事情就简单了，就解决非常快。这是他的意思啊。这个我可能刚才给你讲
我明白了，我明白了。
现在明白了啥意思？
我明白了，我明白了。哦，这点是跟苏联一样，对吧？
他认为对，他说
我明白了。
苏联就是这样。他说社会主义国家都是这样，都是方法都是一样的，都是这样。他说你一点点看看大家，如果大家都不吱声，那么我就继续再走一步，就这个意思。
哦，试探性的，
试探性，对，你这个词用的好，我有时候找不到确切的词汇，就说他就是说一点点 test 你的底线嘛，就看你，他说你往前走一步，他就是中国共产党会这样，他是认为是这样。他说如果是突然间，那就简单了，就这个意思。
明白。
我可能刚才给你解释不清楚，我再给你解释一下。
明白，谢谢。
接着讲。
哎，等会儿你看一眼，刚才那有一个，咱那有一个安东尼银的那个安东尼银，咱也是咱朋友，他后面那个英文缩写，他提个英文问题，他那英文缩写是嘛意思 ？L。你往前翻翻，咱那个聊天区有一个安东尼银。
你叫 Anthony， 你上来打电话就好了。你这英语这么好，你可以打电话。
安东尼他会打吗？他就有一个最后那英文字母 LARP 是什么意思
？Another LARP， 我不知道啥意思，他这是什么缩写吧？
对。
对，现在太多缩写。
什么意思啊？
太多缩写，这 Arthur 也不知道嘛意思。
我也不知道。Excuse me, do you know？
安东尼银那个 LARP 是什么意思啊？而且真实。
你没看过，我现在看到这样。
魔鬼会加过。
What is it, Lynn?
That's the first one.
我那个。
LARP 不知道。
哦，你是有。
I don't know。我不知道什么意思。
我有点老化，然后。
行，珍姐你先聊。
有近视眼。
谢谢，拜拜。
那个，然后有一只眼，是左眼还是有点白内障？
安东尼银 ，LARP 是什么意思？因为现在缩写太多。
为什么呢？我是看电视，就感觉一晃好像有点晕。哎，我得定睛再看一次才清楚。
对，打电话是直接。
但我看东西。
我那个 Skype 就是佟主任文英。没想到安东尼银，你英文这么好啊！
不是眼花，眼花你首先第一个感觉是看字，你远处，你这样你看我在这儿，就完了，全是重影。
LARP 真人角色扮演游戏。我就让安东尼银说这个 LARP 是什么意思。没动时间太晚了，明天再看录播吧。谢谢，前面我也看不见。王文泉。银能打电话吗？银。
我爸把车都卖了，都不开了，看不见。
安东尼银，你还在吗？
哎呦，那太危险了。
对呀，
对，他害怕，不要开，他直接就把。
弄得我这个朋友他也不知道这 LARP 是什么意思。
这儿挺好的，对，出门打车也很方便。
不行，不能开了，这再开出事儿了。
对呀，这不是太危险了，尤其咱这边开车。
你能打 Skype 吗？你给我打那个 Skype。现在我们这朋友，包括珍姐都不知道那 LARP 是什么意思。你要打 Skype 呢，我这个名字就是佟主任文英。让老外说一下爆料革命的感受。
他不知道爆料革命。
他不知道爆料革命，他不知道，他光听我这个朋友说的，因为我跟我朋友， 这姐们儿老说这个郭文贵，一见面就提那阵儿咱打鸡血那阵儿了啊。这最近我今天不也再加上疫情嘛，好长时间没请他们了。这一过来，他们都说怎么你现在又就砸郭文贵了呢？拜拜。后来我说郭文贵是骗子，知道吗？啊，怎么又骗人？对。我夫人唱歌没有天津味儿，我也没有吧，我也没有。你们怎么老表扬我夫人？表扬我啊！我唱歌没有天津味儿，只不过有点齿音字。
Most of it's a bunch of BS.
Yeah?
There might be a few people,
你怎么
but
那么黑呢？
哦，我这是带 privacy 保护的，隐私保护的屏幕，
哦，
就这样看着。
哎，
对呀对呀对呀。
故意的。
哎，那前面的问题他能懂吗？告诉你。
So
you
what do
could
you think
you
about
could have a
the-
few people involved in something, and then all of a sudden the left makes it about everybody. But there's also a liberal left in there that's a billionaire that pays for a lot of things.
So
What
is
was
the
his
whole
name?
thing?
Bill Soros. He paid to have people out of prison to go campaign for John Kerry back in the day. Republicans would
what is
never
this
take
thing
criminals
about?
and put them on the street like that to
Yeah,
campaign.
What is this whole thing about? This term.
It's a complicated.
哦，等会儿
Everybody's
啊
got something to say about it. A
打
lot of
扰
different
一下，
twists.
您知道卡农是半农啊？
It's too
卡农是什
complicated
么
and？twisted.
卡农是什么？他所如所建议的，
Trying to say the Q is
It's QAnon. It's like a
QAnon or
QAnon.
他真的，
I think it's a kind of a slap at the liberals, maybe.
I've
哎呦，
never
我
heard
这
of
字
it.
儿
They're
我
trying
都
to say
看
they're
不
far
见
right。people, but they're not.
So basically, what the thing is.
童主任是这意思。打扰一下，您知道
Far
卡农
right
吗？卡
people,
农
the
是
Q
什么？
stands for religious.
如所建议的，他
talks
真
about
的
all
是
sorts of
军事
things,
情报
satanic,
人员和
religious,
特朗
all
普
sorts of
本
stuff.
人的
It's a
多
back
个
and
成
forth
员
thing.
吗？
It's very complex.
还是只是个 lap？
It's not a very simple
他知道吗？
writing.
他说是左派跟右派之间的这种，就是推来推去的一种阴谋论。具体的这个 term 我们是从来没听过，我也没听过。
哦
他看了一下，说的很复杂，但是有点乱。我觉得可以，因为提到索罗斯，提到克林顿，提到奥巴马，所以这里面很多人，包括提到俄罗斯，
嗯哼，
这里面很多事情是我猜，我现在猜，因为
啊
我没有仔细看，
啊，
我猜是跟那个奥巴马们有关系的。
最近前些日奥巴马不也出来了？奥巴马
因为
对，
奥巴马是卖国的。
嗯哼，
呀，他跟俄罗斯，他还不是俄罗斯，他跟那个中东穆斯林，
嗯哼，
也许包括了俄罗斯啊，
嗯哼
这中间因为那个克林顿那边是跟俄罗斯，
嗯哼，
他们这边全都是有关联的，
嗯哼，
他们是一个集团。
川普要查他们不哈？
对，
对，
所以这个的话是可以再研究一下。这个 term 我是第一次听到，可以再研究一下。
哦，对，我想起一个问题，Do you know Steve Bannon？
Bannon。
Yes.
Good, bad？
He's
How
got a
do you
lot.
see
He's got a
好的，
lot of right ideas.
好的。
OK。
班农，这个郭文贵把班农爆料革命的时候，他把班农拉过来了。他借着班农的光环，班农是川普的竞选的成员之一，包括以前钱，当然现在就跟他一样，都是美国人了，他就是一个老百姓了，对不对？但是呢，他把班农给弄过来，一直给他站台，包括现在法治基金的董事啊，他是代理人怎么样等等的一些的，他就借着他就骗我们这些人。
对他的看法，但我不知道他对他有多了解。
哎
So do you
对
know really well about this? Mr.
I,
Bannon?
from the surface, I would say I would support him. He's for America, and he's more conservative. He is not the far
我表
left
面上看
liberal.
他是支持他的，因为
So even if he makes mistakes and he bumps heads with
保
Trump,
守派。
even if he makes mistakes and bumps head with Trump sometimes, because Trump can be an ass and pushing through whatever he wants, Bannon is
But he's more aggressive than Trump.
he's
Right.
he's you know what? Sometimes you need to, select your verbiage and your words better than Trump does, but sometimes you need to just be bold faced. So I think we act too soft. And Bannon, I support him.
OK，反正因为他没有 ，Do you really know well about this person?
Even if he does something wrong that I disagree with, I disagree with some things with Trump, but I support him.
他说也许有可能他某些事做的他也许不是完全认同，但是总体来说他是支持他的，因为他是为了美国的，然后属于保守派的这个。
他支持班农。
对，他只是说从表面上看。
从表面上看。
对，因为细节像你说的爆料革命，他是完全不知道的。
他完全不知道。
对，他是不知道的。从表面上看，作为保守派，他是前这个川普总统的这个
智囊团之一，对吧？
所以他会比他可能有时候说话会软一点，有时候说话会很强硬。
Is there something bad about him? Did somebody ask him?
It's something related to the Chinese billionaire Mao's school.
What happened?
There's a lot going on. I don't really know much detail because I don't really follow those.
Does he not trust him and think that he's?
Miles Guo, the Chinese billionaire, is actually.
I know he's turned on the CCP and he's here, lost a lot of money.
And he's using
Can't go back.
Venom to show the world that he's got the support from the US.
Yeah, well, I support Bannon. I mean, even if he does something one time wrong, doesn't mean I don't support him. It's like Trump. He says things I don't agree with, but I still support him. I will never support the left. The left is like I see him as somebody taking our freedom away.
不是完全对，也许有的时候做的不合适或者不对的话，他也会支持他，因为他是完全针对左派的。
嗯哼，但是
在这一点上，他肯定是支持他。
但是郭文贵从17年，你多少也知道点儿，他说过2天的6·4，共产党就没了，对吧？等等这一系列，现在马上。
那些他不知道。
我知道，我就说啊，他天天这个，我说的是 Miles 郭，天天就是说胡话，班农。怎么会不知道呢？他会不会找个翻译？你既然你看啊，有一个案子庭前质询，你知道吗？开庭之前，我要给你喊来，被告、原告喊来，就是我要质询你们，问你们问题。他问班农的时候，班农什么都不知道。你是法治基金的。就是举个例子，我说不知道，我就董事长，
给他一个头衔吧，
就给他一个头衔，你又当着这有多少钱你不知道，钱怎么样，他都回答不知道。
那证明他真的是不知道，证明他只是一个头衔。
你为什么要当这个头衔呢？
他给他钱呀。
他是给他钱了，确实给他钱了，一年给他是50万，是100万。
所以喽，给你钱，给你个 title。
你美国人就能这样吗？我就当那公司老大了，这不胡来了吗？
我想，因为我真的不了解这2个人，因为我没有 follow 他们任何一个。我是觉得，如果有钱的话，他应该可以做，可能很多细节也许他都不知道。我是说这个美国人他可能都不知道。
100万哈，你看底下人都说嘛，就是100万嘛。所以说我就说，你看每天啊，这个迈尔斯给我天天胡话。你班农你再跟他好，你不也得找一个会中文的？
因为我看到 Bannon 他在 Twitter 上面发了很多东西，
作战史吗？
全是
针对共产党的，没错，
对吧？
没错。
我没看到他说太多其他的东西。
他就是反共，这个班农确实反共。
我并没有看到他替郭文贵站台，
是不是？
没有看到。
哦，你 follow 你看他那个？
我看过，但我没有 follow 他，我看过。但是我不会看全，是因为我不想太耽误时间。
我明白。
我就会看过。
他没提过郭文贵。
没听他提过。
对。
他就是针对共产党，
郭文贵
非常的强硬。
我觉得对他倍儿强硬，对共产党，他报欧洲去游说也是说共产党多么邪恶。OK， 就是问题这个郭文贵有时
我觉得至少在目前这个阶段有钱的原因。谁也没
肯定有钱。
对，谁也不会跟钱有仇。而且像这些人，他有这些渠道可以挣到这么容易的钱，应该不会拒绝。况且他们的大方向是一样的，那细节后面的就不知道了。
有个叫比尔戈茨的，你知道吗？是一个挺有名的记者嘛，还给他一直吹嘘他。
你得说英文，翻译我也不知道。
哎呀，所以说现在班农我真是一个谜，包括咱底下这些朋友也是对班农也是一个。
我觉得先观望吧，这东西太着急也没什么，时间是最好的。
我就说时间最好的，我就纳闷为嘛班农你不找一个会中文的人，你花点钱听听他。
把钱赚到了再说呗。
人家可能是这样，对，班农是不想知道郭的事儿啊，也这倒有道理，人家也不想知道，嘿嘿，没错。
对，你给我这么多钱，我就干这么多事儿。
哦，对，那个是《纽约时报》记者，叫比尔戈茨，比尔戈茨。
We should go home.
Go
home.
纽约时报是 纽约时报是吧？
纽约时报的
就是 fake news。
fake news
纽约时报、华盛顿邮报、CNN 这都是 fake news。
现在还就是
CBS, New York.
现在就是 Fox good， Fox good。
You got to watch all of them and you decide for yourself. You'll see two different sides and you'll realize Fox will point out what the other news is leaving out. And you'll see, wow, there was another half of the story I didn't get to hear.
Yeah.
Well, they cut off what somebody says, a Republican or Trump says, and they just show this one phrase. And they actually change the word sometimes and edit it. It's
You need more
ridiculous.
water?
Do you need more?
I just had a bottle.
OK， 行啊，谢
Well,
谢。
if you're able to vote Republican.
如果你能投票的话，一定要投给共和党。
对
The left is selling our souls and compromising our democracy. And indirectly, I think they're supporting CCP and so forth. And so a little bit of socialism to help people, but don't make them lazy. Don't go as far as CCP, socialism, communism. That's just evil. I mean, the left is taking away our freedom gradually, chip by chip. A left person could say something and it's okay. If you say it the other side, they make a law and throw you in jail.
对，共产党在中国怎么控制那些人的？比尔盖茨他们那一套，左派这一套，克林顿他们这一套，就是想要奥巴马，就是想要把这边也一样。
民主党也要跟共产党学那样控制这样的人。OK， 好
I
声音
think
姐
an hour
姐。
ago I said goodnight to them.
他说他1小时之前就说过晚安了，现在还在。
这老外多哏儿，他今天也累了，今天也累了。
你
你老外。OK， 你跟大家再
Okay, 再见，晚安。
晚安，谢谢阿 Sir，
Good
谢谢
night，
阿
谢
Sir，
谢你，
谢谢你
Thank you。
我再跟大伙儿聊会儿。哎呀，
那你拿着一块就去送人。
啊，因为嘛呢，我倍儿喜欢他，他是特别，他有点累了，特別一个正直的人，就特别一个见义勇为的人，你知道吗？
刚才
俩人都困了。
刚才阿 Sir 还这样，闻他，我觉得他可能会闻见的怪味儿。哎，你不知道吧？他被抽油给袭击了。不知道。被抽油袭击了，然后以后啊，然后。
不谢。
多慢一点，不要这样，瞎撞。
好的，就不聊了。我那个送客人，有机会，我准备材料，今天也是即兴发挥。好声音姐姐，
从车后走。
好，再见。以后我就经常跟这个老外们一块儿聊聊，挺好的。谢谢你们啊，再见。今天还好没转圈，刚才我一出去有点转圈。再见，拜拜。倍儿耐吃。我那个韭菜盒子，我害怕它不耐吃，我给它弄的那个4皮撒馅儿的那个牛肉也吃，他吃不多，他一直就是挺注重身体的，知道吗？对，行，大家再见，拜拜。他韭菜还行，他就吃了半拉，他韭菜差的。好，再见，哪天咱再聊啊，拜拜。